Hi guys, it's me, Susan. Welcome to Cruisin' with Susan. It's been a while, I know, but not that I haven't talked to you very frequently in my mind, but somehow translating it into the camera, just, there's always a reason. But anyway, my topic for today is how to not care what people think. And as usual, my title is a kind of a trick title because actually I don't believe it's possible not to care what people think. Maybe there's a few personality disorders, psychopaths or people like that who maybe even enjoy trying to upset people. But in general, for most of us sort of ordinary neurotic people that worry about stuff like that, I think the issue or what you have to do is learn how to manage it once you feel it. You can't make yourself not feel something. And I certainly have noticed in myself, and maybe you've noticed it, that sometimes it's not even a real person that's going to think something. It's an imaginary jury in your mind that's deciding that what you're doing isn't appropriate, or you should have dressed a different way, you should have said a different thing, whatever. It's kind of like my last post, which was quite a while ago, but where it suddenly dawned on me that no matter what I did, everything felt like it should have been done better. And that was so automatic I didn't even realize that it was a thing that I was doing in my mind rather than just the truth. I should have stayed longer, I should have left earlier, I should have whatever. And because some people are more like that than others, but as a result, it makes us self-conscious and assume almost that the rest of the world, whoever that is, would judge us if they know what we're doing. Sometimes we have to keep it secret. That's why we end up feeling shame, because we assume that if people knew what we were really doing or what we were really like, they wouldn't want anything to do with us. It is such a whole elaborate drama that we create that we don't even, the key is to realize that it's a drama that you create. But here's the first step. When I say you can't help it, you can't not care, that is based on my belief that as human beings, we are programmed, we are hardwired to want to connect with others. This is a survival mechanism. It has helped us. The scientists have discovered what they call mirror neurons, where we are affected by the facial expressions of another person. It's a feedback loop that is very, very important to be able to survive. Being able to discern if someone is angry at you or pleased with you, it still matters, but it used to really matter because, you could end up dead if you couldn't tell the difference. I think we're hardwired to want to be in community, to be in relationship, probably originating from being born and being dependent on our mothers or on a caregiver, a human infant, as opposed to, let's say, a horse, a little baby horse, although they do have to eat, but they can get up and within hours be able to run in order to survive. Human babies can't do that. So it really matters if someone likes us and wants us to be with them, because that's how we survive both in infancy and later on. We feel that way as we grow up as well. So I don't think you can control that feeling. Let's say somebody looks at you and frowns. You don't even know them. There's an instinctive feeling of maybe a little anxiety or maybe even a little irritation. Why are they mad at me? I didn't do anything, But it's almost like a radar for rejection that we have. So when we get dressed to go out, part of what we're doing is trying to please other people. Unfortunately, most of them are easier to please than we think, I believe, but we're projecting our own self-critical feelings onto the world. Generally, if you think about it, you might not particularly like how a friend of yours is dressed, but it's not a big deal. You don't really think about it more than a second. But if it's you that's trying to get dressed and trying to, I don't know why I keep talking about getting dressed, but I think that's one of my things. Of course I'm wearing a t-shirt, but I'm not going to dress up for you guys, even though you're judging. See, it's crazy. When it's us, we get more anxious because it triggers a feeling of threat. The threat is, I will not be loved. I will not be wanted. I will be kicked out of the tribe. That creates a fight-flight alarm in our body. And that creates the dwelling on and worrying about and feeling obsessed with sometimes what other people might think, even though, especially if it's people you know, if you thought about it logically, you wouldn't worry about it at all. So here's what I recommend doing. When you recognize, the most important part is to notice and recognize that you're feeling self-conscious or self-critical, or you're worrying that people are not approving of you. I remember the first time I didn't have a very good schooling in how to be feminine. You may have guessed that, but even as a young adult, the first time I tried to wear like makeup, like I actually put on foundation, which I stopped doing immediately, but I felt like a clown. I felt like people would look at me and say, what has she got all over her face? And it didn't look bizarre. It just was different for me, and to me that stood out. So here's what I recommend doing with that is, if you recognize that you're worried, you can sort of walk yourself back from the edge of the cliff by trying to reason a little bit. If you can get out of the fight, flight, fear mode, usually taking a few deep breaths and recognizing, I am stressing out over something that should not be this important, then you can actually kind of almost like take your own hand, like you're a scared little kid, which is exactly where that feeling is coming from. The dependency, the feeling, I couldn't live if I was rejected. It's not logical, it's not rational, but it's in there and it's happening. And if you try to deny it, or you take it too seriously and believe that you actually have to be perfect in order to be okay, you're going to drive yourself crazy. So what I usually try to do is, once I recognize that I'm making too big a deal out of it, I say, okay, what is the worst that could happen? What is the worst thing that could happen? These people or this situation, let's say I was going to go speak to an audience, kind of like now, except I don't have to look at y'all. I kind of have to walk myself through the steps of, okay, let's say they all don't like it. Are they going to stand up and throw rotten tomatoes at me? Probably not. Maybe not invite me back. I don't know. Give me bad reviews. It's not a life-threatening situation. And to sort of use your wise mind that understands you're not criticizing yourself for being worried. You're not saying, that's stupid. Stop feeling that way. That's ridiculous. That's not the answer, because it doesn't really speak to the anxiety and the fear. But you want to speak to it kind of the way you would if you were a wise and loving parent whose child was afraid. You wouldn't say, oh, you're right to be afraid. Probably people aren't going to like you. But you also wouldn't really just dismiss it and say, oh, that's silly. Don't worry about that. You'd try to give maybe some reassurance. some support, well, try it out and see, we don't know what's going to happen, but you'll be okay when it's over, and we'll talk about it. Something like that. Um, I'm embarrassed. I'm embarrassed to admit that this morning I had to do that for some reason. I can't even remember now why I was worried. It was something about, for all my life, I have been feeling like I'm not cool. Okay, and I may very well not be, but it's like it's ridiculous. The degree that I worry about it, even when I'm by myself. Like, my decisions should be cool. Cool to who? I don't know. But anyway, so this time, instead of just feeling kind of ashamed, kind of like awkward and kind of criticizing myself, I just said, okay, listen, some people might think you're cool. Some people might not think you're cool. I mean, I tell this to patients all the time. I just don't listen to it myself. If we brought in 10 people and you did your little presentation of yourself, some of them might think, a couple of them might think you were awesome, and a couple of them might really dislike you, and the rest of them would be sort of scattered in between. So there is no totally cool and totally not cool. It's just a continuum, and you're going to be somewhere, and sometimes you'll be cooler than other times. And sorry, my nose keeps itching. I don't know why. And that helped me. It kind of ends up, when you say to yourself, you don't have to be perfect. You don't have to tell yourself, oh, you look awesome. You're going to knock them dead. You're going to be the greatest. You don't have to be able to do that. I mean, it's great if you can, but then you're not really prepared if it doesn't go well. I really like to think of it as, whatever we're going to do, it's kind of an experiment. It's kind of like, we'll see, and could be great, could be terrible, could be most likely somewhere in between. And other people's opinions are just that. And, you might have an opinion, I might have an opinion, everybody else has an opinion, and that's totally fine, and none of them actually is more valuable than another. So, I don't know. I think I'm going to stop because I don't want you to think I'm talking too long, because then I will feel bad. And then I will have to talk myself out of it, just like I just told you how to do. So, to be honest, that's probably partly why I haven't made more videos lately, because I've just gotten sort of, I'm noticing it more, which is good, but I've gotten kind of self-conscious about this, what will people think? And I would say it's safe to say that everybody who watches this video, just about everyone, is already a friend of mine, already likes me somewhat, And the ones that don't, nobody's commenting, so I don't even have to deal with snarky comments. So I think it's just a little game we play with ourselves, and I, for one, am kind of tired of it, so I'm going to try to get over it. And hopefully I've given you some ideas about how to do that as well. And if you just get a wild hair and decide you want to comment, that would be great. But don't tell me I'm not cool, because then I'll be upset. Oh gosh. Okay, folks. So as always, I would love for you to live well, laugh often, and love much. And I will catch you the next time on Cruisin' with Susan. Okay, bye now.